Hey, welcome back to ranking every manga I read in May from worst to best. If you watched my April video of this, then you know how this works. I take every manga that I read in a given month and rank it from worst to best. I think you'd probably be able to figure out how this worked even if you didn't watch my last video, but that's how it is. But yeah, so that's what we're gonna do. And this is a high stakes event, guys. There are winners and losers. There is high drama. The winner goes home knowing it's the king of the manga, and the loser goes home destitute, no food left to feed its family. We are taking livelihoods away for this video. That's how hard we're going here. This is going to be a crazy time. So let's dive on in a second. Sorry that this video is quite late. I know that it's a video about what I read in May, and June is almost over already, so yeah, it took a while to get this out here, but I got really sick at the beginning of the month and wasn't able to do anything, so that's why I'm putting this out now. Thankfully, I'm feeling better though, and I'm able to get this video out, so that's cool. But also, I have kind of an update on the channel. I know that sounds a little extra saying that, like I got a channel that's worth giving updates on, but yeah, I just want to talk a little about my plans for future videos and stuff. So if you care about that sort of thing, I'll talk about it at the end of the video, and I'll meet you at the end for the channel update. All right, so we're gonna do this like last time. I got the manga that I read physically here, just sitting in front of me, and then I also got manga I read digitally, which I'm gonna just pull up a picture of on my iPad. I know it was a little sketchy, but it worked last time, so if it's not broken, don't fix it. So that's what we're going with. I read, I think, 7 series total this month. Yeah, 7 sounds about right. And of those, 4 were complete series that I read the whole thing of. 2 were ones where I read just like a certain arc or a certain segment of arcs from a long series. And then one of them is in this nebulous zone where it's kind of a complete series and kind of not. We'll get to that one when we get there. I wasn't sure how to describe it. But so that's the deal here. And yeah, I think that's everything. Let's dive in. So starting off in last place, we got. No, I'm just kidding. Don't kill me, please. Don't kill me. Don't kill me. It was a joke. All right. Starting off in 7th place, we got An Invitation from a Crab. In my last video that I did like this, all the manga that I ranked, I made it clear that even the ones in last place I still liked. I just didn't like them as much as the ones ahead. This time around, it's fair to say that I actively disliked An Invitation from a Crab. I only finished it because it was 1 volume. If this was more than 1 volume, this would not have gotten finished. This was, yeah, I did not like it. But I will say that the reason I didn't like it wasn't because it's bad. This is not bad. It's actually good. Like, it's good, it's just not for me at all. And the reason it's not for me is because I've said on this channel in the past that I'm really not a big fan of chill, relaxing manga and anime. Like, whenever a series is described that way, I just know it's not for me, because I don't know, I just get so bored of that stuff so easily. But I know that really is a thing for a lot of people, and that it is for them, and I don't think that that's bad or anything. I think I'm just wired differently or something, where I'm just really not into the chill, relaxing stuff. The best way I can describe An Invitation from a Crab is that it's basically Shower Thoughts, the manga. It's about this character on the cover here who exists in this kind of surreal world with their friends, and they basically every chapter they'll see something that'll get them thinking, and then them and the other characters will sit around and talk and be like, isn't that funny that this thing reminds you of this other thing? And they'll be like, oh yes, that is pretty interesting, isn't it? And then the chapter ends, and then they'll do that for a new thing the next chapter. And that's kind of the way this series goes. There is not like an overarching story or anything. Each chapter is just kind of, oh, here's some thoughts about life, which is nice if you're into that sort of thing, but I'm not, so this really wasn't for me, which is a shame. This reminded me a lot of the manga Girls Last Tour. And if you've read that series, how you felt about that one is probably going to be the same as how you'll feel about this one. So me personally, I didn't like Girls Last Tour very much. But if you did like Girls Last Tour, you'll probably like this a lot too. And if you loved Girls Last Tour, definitely check this out. Like, the last thing I want to do is scare anybody who would like this manga away from reading it. Like, it makes me so sad, because I'll see people who will make videos about manga or books or whatever, and they'll hate on a certain series, and people in the comments will be like, whew, thanks, I was going to pick that series up, but now I won't anymore because you hate it. And I'm like, man, just because one person hated it doesn't mean you're going to hate it. That's like, what if this guy just scared you away from picking up what would have been your favorite manga of all time or something? And I really don't want to do that. So definitely, if this sounds like your kind of thing, if you're into a chill, surreal-ish series that's mostly just people talking, and you know going into this that there's not going to be much going on plot-wise, and you just kind of want like something to relax and think to or whatever, this could definitely be for you. I think one of the reasons I didn't like it is because I went in with the wrong expectations, because I kept hearing about how this was like super surreal and crazy and wild, and I went into it expecting something like the anime movie Mind Game. If you've seen that, you know that's just the most high-octane, crazy, surreal thing ever. And this is the exact opposite of that. It's just very calm, a little surreal, but just very, very calm and chill. And I just didn't expect it to be like that. So definitely, if this sounds like your thing, check it out. It's not bad. I have no like complaints about the writing or anything other than it's just not for me. Like, the art is very good in this, as you can see. The art's great. It just wasn't for me, but if it sounds like something for you, go check it out. For number 6, we got our first digital pick of the night here, Sandland. This is a 1-volume manga about a world that's made of sand. A sand land, you might say. Where, okay, basically what happened, you've heard this kind of story before. There is a post-apocalyptic sort of thing, everything's sand now, and all the water in the world is being hoarded by this evil king who's using all the water for himself, and no one else has water. And so this old guy on the cover here and these 2 demons, because yeah, demons are a thing in this world. They go on a quest to find the king's secret water stash and bring it back to the people. Last month I read Dragon Ball and I absolutely loved it. It's one of my favorite manga now. And so when I was done with that, I was like, I want to read more from this guy, because obviously he's a great writer. I want to check out his other stuff. So I read Sandland because it was on the Shonen Jump app and it was short. And it's fair to say that this is not as good as Dragon Ball is. I don't think that's a controversial take, but I will say that I also I'm gonna go out and say that I did not like this one very much. I know I've had two manga that I actively didn't like this month, which is different from last month, because last month I liked everything. But this month, there's a bigger gulf in my enjoyment between manga, because I got these two series that I didn't like, and then everything else I read this month I think I loved. Like, it's really just these two that didn't do it for me. But yeah, let's talk about why Sandland didn't do it for me. And the main reason, this is a cringy reason. I hate what I'm about to say, but it's generic. I know, generic, super overused term, doesn't really mean anything anymore, because I've heard basically every manga ever labeled as generic. But you heard the description I gave. There's a lot of stories like this one, and I don't think that this one really does enough to differentiate it from all those other stories. I think what it tries to do is bring the demons in here, so that's a whole angle that could have been unique. But my thing with that is that the demons don't really do anything demon-y. They don't add anything to the story. Like, these two demon characters could have been humans and the story wouldn't be any different. Right? And I wish they just dived into the whole demon angle of it a bit more, just to spice things up and make things different from all the other post-apocalyptic, the evil king has all the water stories. Because this one just isn't it. It's not funny like Dragon Ball was. Dragon Ball, one of the reasons I loved it was because it was just the most hilarious thing ever, and this wasn't funny. I mean, not everything has to be funny. I don't think this one was trying to be as funny as Dragon Ball was, but that definitely brought it down for me. The artwork is fantastic. The character designs are phenomenal in this. That's the best part of this manga for sure. And it is great, like, in the few fight scenes that exist in this. Akira Toriyama's fight choreography is still on point. Like, Dragon Ball has probably the smoothest fight scenes I've ever seen in manga. Just looking at them from panel to panel, like, you can't get lost. You know exactly what's happening. And Sandland's the same way. So the art is great in this. It's just the story left a lot to be desired for me. It could have done a lot more. But so that's how I feel about Sandland. And like I said earlier, this is the last one that I didn't like. And from here on out, all the manga I read I thought were great. So keep that in mind when we talk about number 5, Naruto. I read volumes 16 through 22 of Naruto this month, and keep in mind that when I rank these, I'm only ranking them based off of the volumes that I read this specific month, not like the content of the entire series so far. Because if I was ranking all of what I've read of Naruto so far, it would be a lot higher up on this list, but these specific volumes here, they kind of have a lot of downtime in them, which isn't bad or anything, but it's just they're a little less exciting than some of the other things further up. So that's why they're down here. But I still loved them, right? I was still really enjoying these volumes, so it hurts to put it at number 5. Like, I really could have put these in any order in this middle section here. Like, 5 through 3 are all very, very close in quality to me, so don't put too much stock in this. Don't think that I'm hating on Naruto or anything, because I'm not. I still love this series, for sure. When it comes to series like this one that I'm in the middle of, I'm going to treat how I talk about them kind of on a case-by-case basis, just so that I don't give away any big spoilers or anything. So for Naruto here, I'll give you the basic setup of what happened in these arcs that I read, but I'm not going to tell you any specifics about, so-and-so did this big thing and this big thing happened. Like, I'm going to keep the big stuff vague, but I'll tell you, like, oh, this is the arc where Naruto did this thing, So if you're okay with that, then that's what we're gonna do. But for the other series like this that I'll talk about later in the video, I'm gonna keep things even more vague just to be safe, because that one, I'm a bit further into the series. Things are just getting a little more spoilery in general. So I don't think I'll even give you the basic setup of what happens in that one. So where I'm at in Naruto right now, I read the part that starts right after the Chunin exam arc. At least I think it's right after the Chunin exam arc, because the Chunin exams didn't really end. They kind of got interrupted and postponed. So I don't know if we're ever going to get back to the Chunin exams or not, but I think the arc is over. I don't really know what the name of this first arc I read here was, but it's the one where it starts out with Sasuke's mean older brother shows up and beats up some people, and Naruto and the frog guy have to go find that healer woman who's the only person in the whole world who can heal them or whatever. And this is basically a training arc, because while they're looking for the healer woman, the frog guy is training Naruto on how to do this chakra ball attack, and Naruto can't get it right, and it's just kind of chapter after chapter of Naruto being like, oh, I can't get the ball right, I gotta get it right, oh no. And so that's why this one's a little lower this month. Not because it's bad, it's a necessary part of the series. We gotta see Naruto training at some point, or else it just wouldn't flow right. And we do need a bit of downtime, you know. That's a necessary thing. Chunin exams, that was a super hype arc. We needed this downtime here. But oh yeah, I really liked the fight at the beginning with Sasuke's mean older brother. He seems like a really imposing villain. I'm looking forward to what he does later in the series. So that was really cool. And then, so after this training arc, I think I'm in the Sasuke Retrieval Arc. See, that's a term that I've always heard thrown around before I got into Naruto, but I don't exactly know where the arcs begin and end, but I'm assuming that that's the arc I'm in, because right now they're trying to retrieve Sasuke. So I don't know, this is another time later in the series when they have to retrieve Sasuke, and that's the real Sasuke Retrieval Arc. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that that's where I am right now, even though I didn't officially look it up or anything. And so that's been fun. I like the crew that Naruto assembles to go rescue Sasuke here. It's not exactly the crew I was expecting, but I think they got fun chemistry together, and it's been good so far. So I'm in the middle of that. I didn't finish the arc yet, but that's where I am. And yeah, like I said, Naruto's great. It's a fun series. I'm really looking forward to what happens next, because, you know, you'd think that I'd know everything that would happen in Naruto, because this is such a big series that everybody knows about, that I figured it would be like Star Wars or something, where even if you've never seen Star Wars, you know everything that happens just because you've heard people talk about it. But I really don't know what's going to happen next in Naruto, which is great, because there's still like 50 more volumes for me to read or something. So I'm looking forward to the rest of Naruto. This part was great. It's just, it was a training arc, so it's not like the most hype part of the series or anything, but it was still a lot of fun. Next up is another physical read from this month. We're going to go with number 4, Blood on the Tracks. This month I read volumes 1 through 8 physically for Blood on the Tracks, because these are the only ones that are out in English so far. And then after I read that, I went online and read the rest of the series that was out. So up through volume 13, I think, is the newest one in Japan. So I'm caught up on Blood on the Tracks, and I'm glad I am, because last month I read every Shizuoshimi series of his that's complete. Well, I didn't read them all last month. I finished reading them last month. So that was cool. And I was like, okay, I read all of his complete ones. Now I guess I'll read the ones that are still ongoing. So I started with this one, and I'll get to his other ongoing series at some point soon. And this one, what can I say? It's Shizuoshimi. It's really good. Blood on the Tracks is probably Shizuoshimi's most popular series. And if you don't know what it's about, it's essentially big, as vague as possible, about a relationship between this boy and his no good, very bad, terrible, terrible, terrible mother. This is, anime and manga are known for having really lousy parents. This might be the absolute worst manga slash anime parent of all time. This is, what an awful lady. But yeah, there's more to it than that. It's just one of those things where you gotta be really vague when you talk about this series for fear of giving away spoilers. But if you want to know specifics, these volumes are really short. Like, you can read volume 1 in 15 minutes, and then you'll get more of a handle on what this series is really about. Because there's stuff that happens in volume 1 that I can't talk about because it's a big spoiler. And you'll see that and go like, oh, okay, that's why so many people are loving this series about a boy and his mother. And so, yeah, it can't get too specific because of spoilers. Blood on the Tracks is great. It's really intense, edge of your seat, uncomfortable, creepy stuff. If you're into that sort of thing, check this out for sure. And it's doing an unusual thing where volume 13, everyone thought it was going to end around then, and the author was like, surprise, that's just the end of the prologue. And so it's kind of wrapped this part of the story up, and it's just going in a new direction. And it's exciting because I have no idea where the story is going right now. Nobody does. It's just uncharted territory. And I'm looking forward to seeing what happens next. Although I'll probably wait like a couple months or years for chapters to build up before I read anymore. Just because you can read one of these chapters in like 30 seconds. They're so quick. I imagine reading this on a weekly basis is frustrating because of that. But this series is great. Shizuoshimi, he's my favorite. He's still my favorite. Of course, I love this. Highly recommend it if you're into uncomfortable sorts of things. Number 3 is another digital pick. It's Tacop's Original Sin. I'd actually never heard of this manga before this month, and how I found out about it was that I was watching this Super Eye Patch Wolf video, and in the video he brought this series up, and he was talking about it like it was this like hot new manga that everyone was reading, that all the cool kids couldn't stop talking about, the hot new thing, Tacop's Original Sin, and how it had sold a million bajillion copies and was a cultural sensation. And I was sitting there listening to this and being like, how come I've never heard of this before then? So I went and I found it on the Manga Plus app, which I'd never used before but got for this specific manga, and I read the whole thing in like a day because it's only 2 volumes long, and it was good. Tacop's Original Sin is about this cartoon alien octopus named Tacop who comes from this planet that's devoted itself to spreading happiness all throughout the galaxy. So Tacop's first mission out on his own is to go to Earth and spread happiness to planet Earth. So he lands on Earth, and the first person he runs into is this horribly traumatized elementary school girl who's being abused at home and is bullied by all of her classmates and just has this terrible, terrible life. And we soon see that Tacop is quite out of his element when it comes to spreading happiness, and that things are not going to be as simple as he thinks. Because his idea of spreading happiness to people is very surface level. It's very cartoony. He has like a bag of happiness tools or whatever. He has like the happiness rope and the happiness camera and the happiness watch or whatever. It's a lot like it's making fun of Doraemon in particular, I think, but it's a lot like Mickey Mouse Clubhouse tool, where Mickey has a tool for everything. But yeah, so Tacopi's sitting here with this like horribly depressed girl being like, "Hey, let's take a picture with the happiness camera, it'll cheer you right up." And the girl's like, "This is stupid. My parents abuse me. Like, I'm not gonna be cheered up by this dumb camera." And so it's kind of about the two of them and their time hanging out together, and Tacop kind of coming to realize that, oh, maybe like depression is a big deal that can't simply be cured immediately with the happiness camera. But this manga isn't just two characters sitting around talking about depression the whole time. There's a lot of twists and turns and plot developments that really caught me off guard. It goes places that I never would have ever expected it to go in a million years, and I love it for that. It's also, yeah, so at its core, it is kind of a discussion on, you know, what depression really is and how a lot of people misunderstand it. And Tacop, of course, is the stand-in for the guy, you know, who, when you're depressed, he comes up to you and is just like, "Oh, just think happy thoughts and you'll stop being depressed." You know, the guy who doesn't really get it. And Tacop, throughout the series, he does grow and learn as he spends more time with this character, and ultimately gets to be like, "Oh, this is a very surface level, terrible way of going about things. I need to change." But it's also not like a sappy thing. Like, he doesn't just grow for the better. There's some points where the main character here says some things. She'll be like, "Oh, if I could do this thing, that would make me at least momentarily happy." And the thing that she wants to do is really, really bad. And Tacop's like, "Well, that is a really bad thing, but if it would make her happy, I guess I gotta do it," you know? And so it delves into questions of morality. What is the purpose of happiness? And it's just very interesting. Sorry again if that description is a bit vague. This is another one of those series, like I've said, where I can't really talk too much without giving things away. But once you start reading it, you'll be like, oh, okay, that's what's going on here. So, yeah, if anything I said has piqued your interest, I recommend just getting the Manga Plus app. It's free, and reading the 2 volumes of this on here. The series is complete. It's finished. Like, it was only intended to be 2 volumes, so it's a really quick read. Tacop's original sin. Another great thing about it is the art. So Tacop, throughout the series, he's drawn in a very cartoony, you know, flat way, and then everything else is very, very gritty, grimy. I don't want to say realistic looking, because it's kind of so realistic that it loops back around to being just like disgusting looking. Everybody just looks really sad in this series, and it's just a really neat juxtaposition, to use that pretentious word, between Tacop and the rest of the world here, which just looks totally different. It is, you know, representative of how the way Tacop looks at the world is different from what the world's really like, you know. So that was cool. I think this goes without saying, and you've probably figured it out from the description I've given of this series, but be warned that this is quite a depressing read. So if you're not in the right headspace to read something like this, definitely don't check it out. I was wondering after I'd read it if this was the most depressing manga I've ever read. And in some ways it is, and in others I think that title probably still goes to Goodnight Pun Pun. This one, I think, it just bombards you with depressing thing after depressing thing. While Pun Pun's a lot longer. So, you know, it gives you more time to really soak in the depression. And then when a depressing thing does happen, it hits a bit harder than at this, just because this is a little shorter. This one feels a little more rough around the edges too, but not too rough around the edges that it's bad or anything. This is still a good read. I think that, yeah, this one might have more depressing stuff than Goodnight Pun Pun, and it feels more relentless because it just keeps hitting you over the head with depressing thing after depressing thing. But I think Pun Pun got me a bit more because I had more time to marinate in the same space as those characters and get in their mindset. And then when bad things happened, it hit a lot harder. But I don't know. I don't want to turn this into comparing this to Goodnight Pun Pun or anything. But okay, yeah, it's depressing. It's definitely depressing. If you're into that sort of thing, check it out. If you're not, don't. But yeah, this was the surprise of the month for me because I went into this month not knowing what this series was, and then I read it and I liked it, and I'm glad I did. For my number 2 pick of the month, we're going to talk about Umineko Episode 1. Umineko is the series that I mentioned at the beginning of the video when I said that there was one that could be counted as a complete series but also couldn't. And the reason for that is because it's a bit like JoJo's Bizarre Adventure in that it's split up into different parts that are all each technically their own series but also like part of a larger whole. So if that counts as a complete series to you, then it does, and if it doesn't, then it doesn't. Umineko is the spiritual successor to Higurashi, which is one of my favorite anime and just one of my favorite stories in general. It's a really good mystery thriller with a little bit of horror thrown in there, and Umineko's the same exact genre and vibe for sure. Takes place in what seems to be the same world, has a lot of the same, you know, themes and stuff. So this is definitely right up my alley. It's I talked about this in my manga I most want to own but can't video or whatever I titled that. This was my number 1 because this series is super out of print and expensive and hard to find. So yeah, I'm not reading this physically, that's for sure. But I wish I could though. If this was in print, I would immediately buy every volume of it because what I've read so far is fantastic. The basic plot of Umineko follows this family of snobby rich people who are getting together for their family reunion at this big mansion owned by the head of the family. And when they get there, they realize that the head of the family has decided to sacrifice them to an evil witch, and so they all start slowly dying one by one. And that's just the start of it. But there's this tension throughout because you don't know if there actually is an evil witch or if there's just like, you know, a serial killer on the island who's making up the whole magical angle of things. And the main character of the series, Battler, who's one of the teenagers of this family, the son of one of the snobby rich people, he's convinced that there's no magic involved and that it's actually one of the people on the island who's killing everyone off, and he's dead set on proving that and proving that the whole like witch angle isn't actually a real thing. So it's really interesting. I mean, how could you not be interested? That snobby rich people dying slowly, great story, great premise, and then you have the whole is it magic, is it not, what's going on angle. There's just a little something for everybody here. It's super gripping, and it's so long too. That's the best part of it. People like to clown on series for being long, but I'm gonna just tell you, like, I read 4 volumes of this, and I'm so excited that there's like 50 volumes left for me to read. So I'm just looking forward to the rest of this. It was so good. I'm so excited. Highly recommend it. I hear the anime is trash though, so maybe don't watch the anime version. But this and the visual novel, people say, are all really good. Now it's time for the final pick, the number one. You know exactly what it is. It was prominently displayed in the thumbnail. It's One Piece. You know, it just makes sense. I'm sorry, it's a boring number one pick. Everyone on Earth would probably put One Piece number one in a situation like this. And I didn't want to, I'm not gonna lie. Before this month, One Piece was actually not my favorite of the big three. Bleach was my favorite. And I liked One Piece, like, it was good. But I was never, like, completely on the, oh, One Piece is the greatest thing ever hype train. But now I am, guys, because I read these 3 arcs here. I read Sabodi, I don't know how you say that, but you could read that. Impel Down, and then the Paramount War, otherwise known as Marineford. And guys, this was like the best thing ever. Like, I thought One Piece was good before this, but this had me like rethinking the way I viewed manga. This specifically, like, this entire stretch was the best part of the series for me. Like, I thought the Water 7 arc was great. I didn't think anything could beat that. No, all of these beat Water 7 for me, in my opinion. Like, especially the Marineford / Paramount War stuff up here. Like, this, honestly, I think this is my new favorite shonen arc of all time. I can't really talk about them because, as we could see, we're 61 volumes deep into One Piece, so I can't talk about these in like a non-spoilery way or anything. But if you've read them, you get what I'm saying. You know they're great. This was basically like the peak of shonen for that's such a cliche thing to say. Like, I feel so basic saying this. I never thought I was gonna be like the basic One Piece guy, but here I am. I'm the basic One Piece guy, and I'm proud because this Marineford arc here, I almost exploded reading this. This was like so good. I sat here and I read through these so fast, and that's kind of hard to do because One Piece got all that dialogue and stuff too. But oh my, I'm just talking in circles here. This was just incredible. Like, I don't think anything could ever get as hype as Marineford here. This was just like everything that the series was building up to. It all just exploded into these like perfect 4 volumes here. It's 4 volumes, and I was just amazed. It was incredible. I don't know. See, I'm worried about the rest of the series now because I don't know how it can continue to be this good. Like, because this was quite good. I'm just repeating myself. This was great. You know it. It's One Piece. You've heard enough good stuff about this series from other people. But yeah, One Piece is awesome. Marineford's awesome. All these other arcs are awesome too. Go check it out if you haven't yet. That's it for my ranking video this month. I hope you liked it, and if you've read any of these series that I talked about today, then for sure feel free to leave a comment down below telling me what you thought of the series, because I'd love to hear your opinions. Now it's time for the channel update section of the video, or whatever you want to call it. I don't really know. But basically, the thing I just want to say is that for future videos, I'm going to try to do more than just manga content. And I figured I'd warn you beforehand so that it wouldn't feel like a bait and switch or something. Like, you get you subscribe to my channel for the manga stuff, then you get a non-manga video and you're like, what the heck is this? I didn't want that. I figure I'd just give you a warning beforehand. Yeah, basically the reason I started this channel is just so that I could talk about stuff that I like. It's if you've watched my videos, you've seen that I don't really have lofty ambitions for the channel. I don't have crazy editing trying to put together the best videos of all time or anything. It's basically just me talking about stuff I like, and that's all I really want this channel to be, and I'm fine with that. But yeah, it just so happened that when I started the channel, for the first 2 months, I was just really into manga. That was the only hobby I was really into for that 2 months. And now, of course, I still like manga. I'm always gonna like manga, but my hobbies are a bit more balanced now. I've been watching movies, I've been playing video games, I've been reading books. I've been getting back into comic books. I haven't read comic books for a bit, and that's been cool. And yeah, it would just be cool to talk about that kind of stuff, because you know how it is. It is a bit constraining when there's a whole lot of things that you like, and you can only talk about one group of those things. So yeah, I'd like to come back, and yeah, for sure, I'd like to do a top 10 manga I've ever read video, but maybe I'd throw in a top 10 books, top 10 video games, top 10 movies, just all kinds of other stuff. But yeah, I figure I'd just give you a heads up, because, I know how it is. I know what it's like when you're subscribed to a manga channel, and all of a sudden they start doing non-manga related stuff, and you're sitting there like, what? Why is the manga guy doing this not manga stuff? That's weird. And I didn't want to leave you in the dark or anything, or spring it on you all of a sudden. So yeah, that's the plan for the channel. I hope that whatever new videos I do, that they'll be good and you'll like them and stuff. That I'll like them too. That would be nice. But yeah, thanks for watching. Thanks for being subscribed, and I'll see you later.